And that's a
All
green
right.
screen right there. So if you want to fuck with the video afterwards.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, how's it
Hey,
going?
morning. How are you?
Wonderful. How you
good. How are
doing?
you?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Thank you for asking.
Well, Haley, welcome. Before we get started, you and I have already talked offline a little bit. So this here is Patrick.
What's up, Patrick?
How's it
And
going?
unfortunately, Gavin was feeling very under the weather this morning, so he was unable to join us. I tried to get a fill in as we usually have some backups, but so it's just going to be the three of us.
What a
So,
hater.
so first of all, welcome. Love the shirt. Love the posters.
Thank you. I love my stripy pants.
Absolutely.
There you go.
As you can see, we're very basic here, so we're not too
I
flashy.
think I step it up a bit.
Just a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, I added the green screen, so here we go.
No,
Oh, okay. We'll put Gavin there.
there
Yeah.
you go. So we talked a little bit. I kind of give you an idea of kind of how we do this. We BS about movies all the time. We have fun doing it. So just going to be a fun conversation with us. But if you want to, since Patrick and the viewers don't know, kind of give us just a little bit of background on who Haley is, what Haley's been doing.
Oh, who is Haley? Well, hello. My name is Haley Cerasuola. I've been in the film industry, well, trying to be in the film industry since I was about I guess I started freelancing when I was about 20, 21. I started off like many freelancers as a PA, so production assistant, and then now I've kind of moved up over the years to like key production assistant, and I've helped out with art department, assistant directing, second AC, second AC, just really trying to climb up the directing group ladder. So I would like to eventually be like a James Cameron, where I kind of shoot and direct and write, and sometimes will make a little cameo like Tarantino. I make music for my own movies and then distribute them myself, or through A24. A24, if you're listening, I love you.
So speaking of A24, so can you tell us what that is exactly, or
A24. Oh my goodness.
So glad you asked that question.
for the viewers
And for Patrick.
and for Patrick?
A24 is a distribute. Oh my god, it's a distribution company.
Okay.
And it produces a lot of films. It does its theme is kind of like and I was telling Tony this yesterday. I feel like the 90s were kind of like a sort of small start up into A24. A24 distributes a lot of like indie, very experimental, kind of odd, non-stream sort of movies. So it just came out with a bunch just came out, but the main ones are like, it has
Fine, you're fine. Hey, we do this all the time.
Yeah. Patrick likes to learn, so Patrick uses Google a lot.
Oh, yeah, let me just make sure let me make sure I know what I'm talking about. No, not too.
No, they did a lot of things. Like
The good thing I did not wear the A24 t-shirt I was going to wear, because I would be X, Midsummer, everything Ari Aster, everything Ty West. Ty West just did X and Pearl. Ari
Okay.
Aster did Hereditary, Midsummer, Beau Was Afraid. They did The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe, who I got to meet a couple years back on the Florida project. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
I love Bodies. If you guys haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, yeah.
Lady Bird, Moonlight, Uncut Gems. Mid-90s, which is a great one. Killing of a Sacred Deer. Yeah, there's A24 is where it's at.
Nice.
So looking at their highest grossing films, one of them is titled The Room, and I was afraid that was the Tommy Wiseau movie, but I looked at it, it is not.
Yeah, they had to add The Room. That's a great one too. That one's really sad.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Oh.
At least this version. I've heard of
I told you. I gave you a little heads. I gave her a little background on you, Patrick, just so you know.
Oh yeah, I heard you're an uncultured swine.
Yeah. That sounds exactly like a rip from Tony.
Oh, that's good stuff, man.
It depends on who you are in this conversation.
Yes, exactly. But no, that's great. And you're in Atlanta now, correct?
I just got here about 3 months ago.
Nice. And before that, you were here, right?
I was born and raised on Long Island.
On Long Island.
What part? I'm from Lindenhurst.
Manorville,
Oh, okay.
exit 70 on the LIE.
I know exactly where that is.
All the idiots get off to go to the Hamptons. So they stop there and then they jump on Route 111 to go. So it's the traffic is horrific, but fun to see all the rich people having a great time.
Absolutely. And you were down here in Florida, correct? This area, St. Pete?
And then so I moved. I didn't officially move, but I started college at the University of Tampa in 2012 when I was 18. And then we officially, my mom and I like moved to around the Sarasota area in 2013. So I was there for about 11 years. And then the last 2 years, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to just, because it was right after COVID. And before COVID, I was actually doing pretty well with, I had freelanced on Floribama Shore.
Okay.
I had done the very first like big feature, which was with Justin Long and his brother. He had wrote a movie called Lady of the Manor. It's on Amazon Prime if you guys want to check it out. It's actually really cute. It's very funny.
Okay.
And it has Melanie Linsky, Judy Greer, Ryan Phillippe, Patrick Duffy.
I love Judy Greer. She's hilarious.
She's the best. She deserves her A-list moment. She's always the best friend. She deserves her starring moment. I'm fighting for it. I'm gonna text her later and be like, I told you about you on a podcast.
Yeah, tell her. Tell them, be like, check those guys out. They're pretty funny. They're pretty goofy.
We're all right.
Yeah,
we're not too bad. So I know I kind of gave you an overview, fun conversation. I know you and I were talking a little bit and kind of wanted to discuss. I know you were born in 94, if I remember correctly, and you have a claim that 94 has the best year of movies.
It's not a claim. It is a fact. It's called facts.
And so I told Haley, I said, 84 or 94 is great. And it does have
you told her the 82 theory?
84 theory. 84. And it was funny because we have 2 decades with the exact same year frame. So 10 years later. But I had her, she did some homework on this one. She actually looked up and checked out some of the movies. So we were going to kind of go through and compare and just see like which year actually holds the reign.
Well,
and they're both good.
I actually even wrote down too, like this from my point of view, like the synopsis of how I feel 80s movies are versus how 90s movies are in general. Not just the year, but I feel like 80s movies are very like action, adventure, very like sort of futuristic, sci-fi, just a lot of like moving parts. And then I feel like the 90s overall is very, I think it started to enter into this world of like auteurism when it comes to directing, a lot of more like experimental, a lot of more dialogue based. I would say I would feel that the comedies are a little more innocent as opposed to like 16 Candles is a fantastic movie, and so is what's the one, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, but but whichever one is the one where the guy's like holding up her underwear.
Oh yeah, that was that's 16 Candles.
They're driving around with the girl who's like drunk. I was like, I don't know, but like I think it's funny, but I feel like, I don't know, like all those teen movies that came out towards the end of the 90s, 10 Things I Hate About You, and Bring It On, and even like Virgin Suicides isn't a comedy, but like I'm just thinking of Kirsten Dunst because she pretty much ran the 90s. It felt more of like an experiment, like how I view A24 movies now is kind of how I felt about the 90 movies in general. But definitely a lot more like dialogue over like action. It's more like tell you instead of show you.
And so what I'll say about that is, because one of the movies you had listed in there is by far one of my favorite directors. There's an indie director, and he's either a love him, hate him type guy. I'm the love him type, and that's Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
And that would be Clerks.
Harmony Korine. Okay.
So
I thought you were going to say Richard Linklater.
No. Richard Linklater was the inspiration for Kevin Smith. So Kevin Smith saw Richard Linklater's film Slacker, and he even tells it in many documentaries. Kevin Smith said, I went and saw Slacker. My buddy Brian Johnson, who's a good friend of his, he's been in a lot of his movies and stuff.
He produced a lot of his movies, right?
Not produced. That's Scott Mosier. But yeah. So he said, yeah, Patrick.
What? I'm an old cultured swine. You said it yourself. I'm sorry.
But he went and he said, "Hey, let's go see this movie called Slacker." And they went and saw it by Richard Linklater. And Kevin Smith walked out of there and he's like, "Wow," he's like, "You can actually make a movie where people just walk around and talk like this is a thing." And he's like, "That's what I want to do." So he said he's a big reason why he got into filmmaking. He's like, "I want to be like that guy." And so to your point about the 90s, though, is that's where you started really seeing a lot more of uh the indie world coming about mainstream, if that makes sense, if that's the right way to say it. Like before you had indie films, but they were always B-rated, usually classified to horror back in the 80s and everything.
Yeah.
They were
That
considered
was the
indie
other thing I wrote
films.
down. Hold
But
on.
now, yeah.
That was the other thing I wrote down. I wrote basically 80s films in general by Haley Cerasuola. No, I'm just kidding.
This is your dissertation here.
Teacher, if you could just quiet down, I'm gonna do my report. So I wrote action and adventure, campy horrors, sci-fi futuristic, star of the Brat Pack, dark, sexier romance, monsters, dark dramas, and government. So like 1984. you
Yep.
know, And then for 90s, like I said, more indie, teen comedies, more poignant dramas, experimental, different like experiments with different kinds of filmmaking. I mean, if you look at Harmony Korine doing the movie Kids, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a movie that I only could watch once. So I was like, ooh. But you know, I learned that it was sort of an Italian way of filmmaking back in the day that he sort of brought back. He just went up to those kids on the street and said, "Do you want to be in a movie?" Like, no script, no, like this is the situation, this is the subject. Why don't you just talk about it and just roll the cameras? Which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, and that style of filmmaking was a lot more of really about, I don't want to use, well, I guess exploitation is a proper term, but exploiting kids for how they actually were in certain situations. Because he also did that the movie, I believe he did Bully, but I know he did Ken Park. There's another movie. So
Dumbo.
what's that?
Dumbo.
Yep. And so basically that was a lot of really kids exploring, sex, drugs. I don't want to say rock and roll to be, coy about it, but
Cliche.
Don't give them that credit for rock and roll.
but you have those type movies. And then, but again, with the 90s, you started seeing where, like I said, again, indie film being able to be brought more into the mainstream. So your Kevin Smith, your Richard Linklaters, your Quentin Tarantino's, Robert Rodriguez's, all those guys were kind of all in their own group, so they'd see each other at, whether it be Sundance or, South by Southwest or whatever film festival they were at the time. But you could actually see those movies in theaters later because they were getting picked up pretty heavily by distributors and, big companies, Miramax, Weinstein Company, and all those other ones were huge players in bringing those guys to the mainstream.
Yeah, and you gotta give props to the Cannes Film Festival in the 90s.
Yeah.
They just started showing everything. And
Mhm.
I mean, Pulp Fiction, I believe, won the Palme d'Or.
Yes, it did.
So and even Tarantino himself, like non-linear storyline and I just think he's the king of dialogue. I really do. I think Inglourious Bastards, aside from the 90s, Inglourious Bastards is one of the most well-written, well put together scripts I've ever seen in my life.
Now, have you seen, since you like Tarantino, obviously, you're a fan. Have you seen? There's been a couple documentaries out there. So ones like called QT8. Have you seen that?
QT8. I don't believe so.
So it's a movie about Quentin Tarantino's first 8 films, and it's
I have the book.
Okay.
There's a book of the same.
That I'm not sure of. I came across it. I think on one of like those free streaming apps, the ones where it has ads and stuff like Tubi and Pluto in them. Yeah. But you can find a lot of really good documentaries about those filmmakers and kind of how they grew to that. And he brought that up about winning the Palme d'Or in Cannes with Quentin Tarantino. He said, when he first got there, they made the movie, they brought it out, they went to the film festival, and he's like, the first couple of days before the film was shown, they're walking around and nobody knew who they were. He's like, just another guy. But he's like, as soon as the movie was shown, he got a standing ovation. They won the award. After that, they're like, you got to talk to this guy. So he's like, within 24 hours, he became to nobody knowing who he was to everybody wanting to work with him. So it's pretty interesting how dynamically or how great things can change for you, or what that can do for your career if you just get into it. Not only get into a film festival, but if you win, how it's a game changer for you as a filmmaker.
I think it's all about too, like right place, right time, and doing something different, which I think sometimes can bite you in the butt because sometimes I think you'll try so hard to be different, then the movie just kind of doesn't really work out because it's like you're trying so hard. Whereas I think Tarantino has always come off like, even though he's working so hard, it comes off so naturally for him. Which is why I think he's same. I feel like with Sofia Coppola, like
Yep.
I mean, Francis is the dude, but well, technically Lebowski's the dude, but but just, I do love the Coen brothers too. But like little things, like Coen brothers are very big on like duality, and they kind of like to repeat the same phrases, like little things like that. Sofia Coppola, it's all about her color palettes. She likes to do more of, like the pastel colors, and she usually does films about, someone that's, kind of in trouble or lost or, trying to figure themselves out. And then you got Tarantino, who's all over the place, but with that same theme of just having great dialogue, and I don't know, he does do the action a lot, but it's always a different sort of act. He's just, I don't know, he blows my mind, man. He's so cool. I even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I even loved, but I think my favorite's got to be tied between Kill Bill and Django.
Okay. See, now for me, it was Reservoir Dogs is right up there as one of
Yeah.
my favorite with Tarantino. And speaking of dialogue, you got to admit that opening scene in Reservoir Dogs, just the diner scene, that conversation.
Steve Buscemi doesn't tip. He's
Yeah,
like, no, I don't believe
everything in that, everything about
It's Buscemi.
it. Buscemi.
But that to me is one of my favorites, just because just that opening scene, I think, is probably one of the best dialogue scenes in movies, in history, in history movies. But
See,
that's just me.
I would make the opposite argument. So my favorite thing that Tarantino has directed wasn't even a movie that he directed. It was a scene in the movie from Four Rooms. So he directed the last room with him, Bruce Willis, Tim Roth, and the other guys. I think that was the best scene he's ever directed.
Okay, I think the best would probably be the one with I think it's Christoph Waltz, and they're in the little bar, and the way he like does the like the finger symbol that he does, and that like gives it all away. Or even in the beginning dialogue when he's talking to the man who's stashing the people underneath his house.
Yep.
I just feel like Christoph Waltz is so good at like, he's just like so creepy and scary, but like so charming at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Patrick.
Yes.
No. Patrick's like, yep, that's me.
Yep.
That's the thing.
He'll take it.
Yep.
King of dialogue, man.
Well, and to me, like I know I mentioned him before, but like Richard Linklater, speaking of somebody who can be all over the map, but still have pretty common themes to his films. Like a lot of them are about
Family.
your family, getting older, coming into your own, but he's done so many different things. I mean, obviously people know him like from Dazed and Confused and stuff like that, but he did A Scanner Darkly, which is kind of way over here.
That movie freaked me out.
Yeah,
man.
compared to
I love that movie with Keanu.
It's great.
Boyhood.
So that one, and that was a 12-year long project. So the whole movie they shot over, if you probably already know that, they shot it for 10 or 12 years and kept the same actors. But I was like, imagine being a director where you have that kind of influence or support from your team. You're like, listen, this is going to take 10 years. We're going to shoot this a couple days or a couple weeks. And then, I'll see you back here in about 2 more years, and then we'll shoot the next scene, and we'll shoot the next scene, and eventually we'll be done.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The daughter is his real daughter in real life.
See, that I didn't know.
Yeah, and halfway, I think she got to about maybe age 13, and she turned to her dad. She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore." And Richard looked at her, was like, "You kind of have to, like, you're a main character, And she's like, "Well, can you just kill me off?" And he's like, "No, like, get over there and I'll get you the shoes you want. Like, just go out."
I ask for 1 week every 2 years out of your life, right? God.
Yeah, that's his real daughter, and she was like, I'm so over this. I don't want to, I don't want to be in this where anywhere else would be like, yep, I got it scheduled every week. Let's, for every year, let's do this. I'm ready. And she's like, oh, good. Can you just like kill my character?
But that's my point. It's like, a lot of them have the same type themes, but at the end of the day, they're, similar theme, but you also did, and then you go from like Boyhood, all right, so you go from like Days Confused to Scanner Darkly to Boyhood, then you go to like School of Rock,
I love that movie.
and then you get to that type movie and it's crazy and all that stuff, and then you go to a movie like Bernie. I don't know if you've seen Bernie or not, Haley.
I have not seen it yet. I know of it, but
Yeah, so Jack
I like
Black,
how he was asking you because he knew that answer.
I knew he didn't see it. But yeah, there's a whole thing, and Slacker, he started off with Slacker, but all those movies are really just nothing but dialogue for the most part. I mean, especially even A Scanner Darkly. I mean, A Scanner Darkly has very unique visual, as we all know.
It's the movie where David Cross turns into a talking cockroach, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie freaked me out.
Yep.
90s was a big start in animation too. I know Scanner Darkly isn't the 90s, but like going back to that, like it was also a good time for actual. I feel like they started to nail down animation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you started getting more into with the CGI type animation
Jurassic
as well,
Park.
and big things like that. But yeah, I mean, you have. It's just they are different. So, like you said, I think the '80s was more because in the '80s, I believe their whole thing was everybody believed that by like end of 1990 or beginning of 2000s, we're going to be flying around in cars, and there was going to be a dystopian society, a post-apocalyptic type thing, because that's a lot of the 80s movies are like that. In fact, if you ever seen the movie called Class of 1999, a very weird indie film. But that's really what it's about. It's about the year 1999. It's supposed to be
I've seen Escape from New York, and that's around this
it's
time.
kind of like that. Only this is more of a high school type setting but it's like everything's chained up. All the cars basically look like mini tanks. Like the kids are driving through because they have to go through these dystopian or post-apocalyptic war zones and everything where there's different gangs. Girl. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
I would love to like go back in time and bring someone from the 80s with like a Back to the Future, like bring someone from the 80s with me who believes all that stuff and show them all the actual stuff that's going on, which is like people eating Tide Pods on TikTok.
Yeah.
And like some man building a spaceship to go into space without NASA.
Yeah, he tried to prove that the Earth was flat.
Without NASA.
And then he fell back to Earth and died. I remember that story.
Like the unfortunate submarine thing, like
Yep.
I'd be like, so this is what you have to look forward to. Have fun.
The magic tablets in our pockets that we only use to look at cats.
Yeah.
Yep. Look at all these wonderful things. I mean, that's probably one of the greatest advancements we've done.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about the 80s and 90s movies, I pulled up two separate lists. And I was like, I got to give the nod to 90s. You got True Lies and Stargate. That one wins.
Well,
yeah, I have my list. So for me, it was 1994, the best movies. Think about this. And they were all like within a couple weeks, if not months of each other. So a lot of the time they'd be in the same theater at the same time. But you got Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption. You have Speed. You got a 30-year-old Keanu Reeves saving Sandy from a bus. I'll take it.
Pop Quiz Hot Shot.
Yeah.
It's the best movies of 94.
Lion King, Forrest Gump. You got the start of Jim Carrey doing The Mask and Ace Ventura. You got Leon the Professional and Interview with the Vampire. You got Natural Born Killers, which was so dope because Woody Harrelson's dad was an actual serial killer. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Heavenly Creatures. It was a Peter Jackson movie.
Yep.
It was like the start of Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky's career. I thought that movie was beautiful and weird, scary and poignant, and I love the way that movie's filmed. But yeah, I strongly believe the 90s is where it's at when it comes to movies, especially 94.
It also has like two of the weirdest fucking movies ever.
And what would that be, Patrick?
Well,
one
of them,
never-ending story. So
yeah, but 1994 also had Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah.
That's with Denise. That was Paul Walker's first movie where he died, and then his brain gets put into the body of a T-Rex.
What, you guys don't do that?
What?
I do that all the time.
Well, I started putting him in like tiny velociraptors because T-Rexes were destroying my apartment.
Oh yeah, I want to get that one that kills Newman in Jurassic.
Dilophosaurus.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he knows his dinosaurs at least.
He's, he'll surprise you in certain areas, but
Right.
I mean, there are sometimes he'll pop out a movie and I'll be like, what? I was like, out of all the things you haven't seen, that's the
And
thing
then
you've
that's
seen.
when I take a 10-second break and I was like, oh, this is how you guys feel all the time.
Yes,
I'm just going to relish this. But also Time Cop came out in 1994. Who doesn't love a good Jean-Claude Van
Well,
Damme movie?
yeah, you guys love Time Cop.
Everyone loves Time Cop.
Everybody loves Time Cop. But I mean, what? Come on. But see, now there's when it comes to with like the 84 thing, it's more a lot for me, more nostalgia. And I was a big sci-fi nerd and buff and that. Not, I mean, I like the action, but it was more so for me. You get like your Ghostbusters, Never-Ending Story type things. I mean, those are classics for kids that
The
never
original
go
Dune
away.
came out.
The original Dune, first Terminator. Revenge of the Nerds. Come on, how funny is that movie? That's pretty funny.
The greatest movie theme song of all time came out in
Sparks
1984. But Beverly Hills Cop came out in 84, which
Yes,
has
it
the
did.
best movie theme song ever, in my opinion.
The theme of Axel, your Axel's theme.
Yep.
See, I'm going through here, but we had Cloak and Dagger, Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks, 84.
Tam Honks.
Tom Hanks.
No, there's a Family Guy episode where he's doing, how they used to do before the movie started in the movie theater, they would give you like trivia.
Oh yeah.
There was one episode of Family Guy where they're doing the movie trivia and and it's like T space M and then H space, blah blah blah. And he goes, oh, Tam Honks.
Tam Hanks.
Tam Honks. So I can't help but call him that now. He has to be.
Well, another one we had, so there's two that were when you're a kid, they freaked you out, but you go back and watch them now and they're nothing. They don't bother you at all. But like Firestarter came out.
I had that written down with little Drew.
Yep, with Drew, and then Dreamscape, which in my opinion, I love Dennis Quaid as an actor. And that to me is one of my favorite movies he's done. One of them.
Yeah. I also had, what was the other one I had for 84? We'll go back to the tiny little thing we have in our pockets. I had we have Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. We had you had Ghostbusters, you had Dune, Karate Kid, you had Nightmare on Elm Street, Blood Simple, which have you guys ever seen Blood Simple?
No. Shocker.
It was like the debut of the Coen brothers, and I believe they wrote Barton. I think they had to take a break from Blood Simple and then started writing Barton Fink, and then went back to Blood Simple.
Okay.
What I love about the Coen brothers is their way of doing things. Is like if we have writer's block, let's just start another movie, start writing that one, and then we'll go back and forth. And so, but I love me some Francis McDormand. I love the Coen brothers. They're definitely up there as far as my favorite directors. I would say my favorite directors, honestly, are Tarantino, Sofia Coppola, him, and Ari Aster. I don't know if you guys have seen Ari Aster's stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just like how he makes it such a simple plot. Like Midsummer, for example, is just about a girl and a guy going through a breakup in the backdrop of like this huge Swedish cult dilemma, which I don't want to spoil for everybody, but and then you have Hereditary, which is a family dealing with the death of a loved one in the backdrop of all this crazy stuff. And Beau is afraid, his guy just trying to go see his mother in the back, So it's always a very simple plot, but the backdrops and the journey of how they get from point A to point B is just wild.
Oh, absolutely.
But real quick, there's one of your favorite movies of all time came out in 1984, and I could see why this may win for him. It's The Toxic Avenger.
Oh God. It's not my favorite movie. I'm a huge Trauma Team fan. I don't know if you were into Trauma films. They're horrible, but they're wonderful.
I'm sure they are. They're from.
They are not. I'm halfway through the second one, and it is junk.
Well, listen, wait. So for Tam Honks, do you prefer Bachelor, or do you prefer Forrest Gump?
So you're talking about two different
prefer Batman.
Hanks movies. I mean, you're talking about, well, not only age-wise, but Forrest Gump is obviously a very sweet, very well done movie. It's got a lot of people quote it all day long. But Bachelor Party is just the young, fun Tom Hanks doing his thing. I mean, just being kind of goofy. But before, actually, let me do this. let's re-invite you because we're about to run out of time on this one. We're going to continue the session, and then I'll give you my full synopsis on Mr. Tam Honks.
I can't wait. We'll be right back.
Be right back after
Now-
these messages.
yeah, now
All right,
we're
I'll
live
send you another
sponsors.
invite in just a second.
Copy
Oh.
that.
All right, welcome back.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
This
I
is
see your.
Vincenzo.
Wait, who's that?
This is Vincenzo Tarantino.
Vincenzo
Oh,
Tarantino.
wow. I wasn't that clever with my cat's name. Her name is just Carter.
Boring. Yeah, his name is Vincenzo Tarantino Frankie Cerasuola. Well, I guess he's gonna just chill behind me.
So do you like just call him Sonny for short or something like all the other Italians do?
Chens.
Just Chens.
Chens,
Chens.
Chenzo. If he's in trouble, it's Vinny. Yeah.
My kitty Vinny.
That's what she said.
Yeah. All right, so
Okay.
I'm going to give you my finish up synopsis of Mr. Tam Honks.
Okay.
Since that's where we left off, and then I do want to talk a little bit more about actually, what you do in the field of film production. So,
Okay.
but yeah, to your question though about Forrest Gump, Bachelor Party, it's like again, like I said, two completely different Tom Hanks. That was the Tom Hanks. That was Bachelor Party Tom Hanks is like bosom buddies Tom Hanks, like Splash Tom Hanks, like Money Pit Tom Hanks. Just crazy, over the top, a little bit more wilder. Whereas like Forrest Gump is a lot more seasoned, professional, serious actor Tom Hanks. You get like Philadelphia style. Him and Forrest Gump, Apollo 13. I'm not going to go through the gambit of every single movie he's done because I can't remember every single one off the top of my head, and we don't have that much time. So,
Big's a good one too.
oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I'd have to say I like him equally for different reasons. It's really I can't pick one over the other because I love his goofy comedy style, but I also love how serious he is. I've told these guys many times, I think for me in this generation, I think he's probably one of the best actors of this generation.
I agree.
Agree.
I mean, he's just done so much, and from what I obviously don't know him personally, would love to, but don't. But every interview or anything ever said about him, he's the nice guy of Hollywood. Like as everybody's always said, he's the sweetest guy in the world. So
you should look up his interview on the Graham Norton show about how he got the Forrest Gump accent. It's very
so I haven't watched that, but I did hear something about when they were talking about the making of it that he actually met the real person that was based off of. Am I correct on that?
I don't know about that. I just knew like my favorite interview segment of that was how he got his accent, and that was he started talking and or the younger kid started talking. Oh, hi. And
welcome.
I guess he has something to say. Do you want to tell the story? Okay.
We will never say no to cats on this show.
Yeah. So they were having the younger Forrest do his scene, and the director was like, "Oh my God, someone has to teach this kid how to talk, and we need like a Forrest. What's going on?" And Tam Honks was like, well, why don't, instead of me making an accent for him why don't I just copy him? So they sat down together, and he said like the kid was from like the deep roots of Mississippi and would say things like running and doing, like, and he sat down with him and he's like, "So Michael, like, what does your dad do?" And the dad was like, "My daddy makes grease." And like, makes grease. What do you mean makes grease? Oh, grease goes in all sorts of products. You can make lipstick with grease. Like it was, and Honks was like, "Yes, like this is it. This is perfect." So that's how the accent came about.
Oh, very nice. I'll definitely check out because I do like Graham Norton's show, so I do enjoy watching that. So definitely will check that out. And one last thing about Mr. Hanks, did you get a chance to see the newest one, A Man Called Otto?
I have not. I've not seen it yet. No.
That's very good. It's a very good movie. Yeah, he does play. It's very serious, and it hits on a lot of there's a lot of mental illness type things or stuff like that. It goes into or depression, I should say. But it's a real good turnaround story about a guy who's just like wants to be a recluse, doesn't want to live anymore, meets a family that moves in his area. You know, he's from the area for a long time, and they kind of just force their lives onto him or force being into his life, and he starts lightening up a little bit. So overall, it's a really good movie.
It's like Forrest Gump all grown up.
Yes. Yes, and a more angry Forrest Gump. Like he's pissed off.
Exactly. I mean, after walking for a year and a half, I'd be angry too.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many calories do you think you burned on that?
A lot.
Yeah. So, aside from Tam Hunks, I want to talk about. So you do PA work.
I thought you had said something else. I'm sorry.
Oh, what you think I said? You can
I
say
think
it.
I know what.
I thought you said tampons.
Oh.
I heard that too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting right next to you.
So speaking of tampons, our girl
I'll go back and check the edit. I'll be like, no.
For the record, we always say we'll fix it in post. There is no post.
Yeah.
He just uploads it.
Yeah.
Never is.
Why fix perfection, man?
Yeah.
You're gonna lose the funny.
I mean,
I know. See,
Just get it in one. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know why this is so hard for actors and directors. Just do it in one. And be a
one
legend.
take. We're one take wonder here.
yeah, that's why I'm the younger sister, because the first one it's like, we'll do it. Practice makes perfect. We'll
Yeah.
do another one.
Yep.
That's the emotion we were looking for on the first take. Right there is the second one.
We got it. We nailed it. We're done. Put in the can. We're done.
Love you, Chelsea.
All right. So tell us a little bit about, the PA lifestyle, what it's like doing PA work, and, just give us that, whether it's a good show or a horror show, or let us know.
Oh, it's a mixed bag. I would say being a PA, I went from PA to key PA. So like I've just kind of nudged up a little bit up the ladder. But I think when people look at movies, it's very glamorous, and it's, I don't think a lot of people realize just like how much work goes into it from every crew member. Like, they should give out award for best production assistant at the Oscars. Like,
I agree.
Just with being a production assistant, you're the first one there, you're the last one to leave. You ordinarily get paid the least. You wear a lot of hats. You're kind of just there. I feel like sometimes when I'm on set as a PA, I'm kind of like a rag doll, and they'll pick up, be like, okay, well, we need you to do this, so we're going to put you in this department, we're going to throw you in that department. And I actually was working on a film where about a week or two in, they had a union strike, so half of the cast or half the crew had to leave, and I got put in a second position. That's how I got, when I first got moved up to key second.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I got to work with like firsthand with the actors. So my job is like, I would come in, I would get their schedules, and I'd be like, okay, well, this one likes to just have me send her a picture of the menu for Crafty, and then I'll make her a little box from the trailer. This guy, all he wants is some jewel pods, and then he just wants to go straight to hair and makeup. And then the third one likes to come in and make, their own box, and then like go, so everyone had their different routines. But it was so fun, because all my life, ever since I was a kid, my mom and dad have always taught me, these celebrities, the people in the public eye, they're just people with cool jobs. They're still humans. And I think, Tony, I've told you this story before, is I actually got interested into film when I was about 8. My dad and I were driving around. We were probably listening to Howard Stern, because we were on Long Island. And he turns to me, he goes, "Oh, the new Matrix Reloaded just came out. The new Matrix came out. Do you want to go see it?" Patrick, have you ever seen the Matrix Reloaded?
Yes, I've seen all the Matrixes.
Oh God, I'm sorry if you saw the fourth one.
I did.
I was sad.
I have HBO Max. I might as well watch it. It was there.
I loved it for what it was, and I knew that they were gonna go and try to make it without Lana Wachowski. So like, I love that she at least took the reins and tried to make something. But it was like, leave it alone.
I thought Neil Patrick Harris did a great job in that movie, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, I love a happy, ending, and I love that Neo and Trinity were able to get together. But the rest of it, it's like,
yeah,
what is all this?
Yeah. What's the purpose? What are we doing this for?
Yeah.
But it was very meta, and I really like meta films, like breaking the fourth wall. Like, I don't want to talk Woody Allen up at all, but Annie Hall, like, just breaking that fourth wall is I think, just so good. Which is again goes back to that like right place, right time with like Pulp Fiction. It was just like it was different, like that non-linear, it was different. So in any event, I was 8 or 9. My dad asked me if I want to go see this movie, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm 8. I may have just turned 9. Like, I don't know what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, it's this really good, it's this fantastic sci-fi movie, and it's about this machine world that's trying to take over the human race and this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, but with his accent, he's like, it's rated R, so don't tell your mother. And but just remember that it's all make believe. There are crew members, there are people. He's not really flying. He's not. So I go and I see it. I'm the only kid in this theater. My feet are like don't even touch the ground because I'm so little. And I watch this movie, and there's the one scene that's going on in between like the famous car chase scene, where Neo is in the Merovingian's mansion. He's fighting in this big weapons room. And I remember watching it being like, oh yeah, he isn't flying. He has wires and people are pulling him up, and that's a stunt double. And fun fact, Patrick, I know you like John Wick.
I do.
Did you know that Chad Stahelski, who wrote and directed John Wick, was the stunt double for Neo?
I did not know that. That's a cool, interesting fact. The only interesting fact I knew about the first John Wick is the original script called for 4 people to be killed. The directors saw that script and dialed it up to 88.
Yeah. And then kept going after that. But yeah, I walked out of that movie, and it was the first time like that Disney movie magic way of looking at things as a kid kind of escaped from me. And I was like, I looked at my dad, I said, I want to do that. And he's like, what, you want to, be Trinity and like, fight crime? I was like, no, like I want to do that. That's a movie and I want to do that. So, so I started getting really into like writing and editing. I went to UT, majored in like editing and writing. If I had to give a piece of advice to any filmmaker who's starting out, really learn camera and sound in college. If you do go to film school, focus on camera and sound first, because those are the jobs you're going to get after you graduate. Like they're not hiring directors and writers. They're hiring, boom operators and assistant camera. So advice for those out there. But yeah, when you're a PA, you show up and you have your own little routine. You're in charge of setting up garbage cans. You're in charge of setting up crafty for everybody. You're in charge of, on a hot day, making sure everyone has a water bottle, or, it's just a lot of the grunt work. And there are a lot of perks to it. There's a lot of perks to it, but there's a lot of sort of little things. Like I've worked on a film where, and I just learned this for the first time, that, we were approved to do overtime, and we ended up doing about 2 hours over the 12-hour mark. And then us PAs had to stay about an hour or so later to clean everything up. We were in the middle of a field outside. It had been pouring rain all day, so everything was so wet. It took forever. We were like, it's okay. We're getting overtime for this. This is fine. And then I found out maybe 2 days later that like, oh, PAs don't get overtime. And I was like, oh, damn, that sucks. I just start like ripping all the tables and chairs out of the but no, it can be hard, and it can be, it can be, I would say I think my main, not problem, but my main thing that I try to work on as a PA is to not take it so personally. I think a lot of the time you go on, and like I said, we're bottom of the totem pole. So even though we're doing all of this work to make sure this film gets going, you're not really, I think I expect to walk on, and like, you can't walk on and expect everyone to be like, good job every 2 seconds. And that's something that I've had to learn over time, is that like, even though I've made all of this happen and I've done all this, figured out this one problem that the director had so we could start shooting, they're not going to come up to you and be like, oh, thanks for that. They don't care. They want their movie made, and that's what we're all here for. That's what we're hired for. But yeah, it took me a couple of films and projects to be like, okay, like I need to just calm down. And I need to just, they can see that I'm doing a good job. I don't have to fall on my face every 9 seconds, making sure everyone has a water bottle and asking everyone, do they need anything, over and over again to get them to
Mhm.
like notice me, to just do your work, do things without being asked, and try to have fun and do a good job, and people will notice. So, but there's definitely a lot of times where I feel like I want to bring something up as a PA or even a key PA, and I feel like I'm being too dramatic, or I feel like they're gonna look at me like you're just a PA, you're a dime a dozen, like why are you complaining? So little things like that are hard. But overall, being it's fun. It's fun. As a key PA, when you move up, like I did a couple of jobs where I was actually in charge of the other PAs. So I would, the producers would trust me to be like, okay, we need a wardrobe assistant. Oh, well, Emily will be good at that. Emily, go help wardrobe today. Oh, we need like a second assistant camera. Okay, Nick, you've done camera. Okay, Nick would be good for that. Go ahead and do that. So I guess I just as KPI, I love like delegating, and I love, I'm an aspiring director, so I like to kind of be telling people where to go and what to do. So oh, that's a cool thing about being a KPA, is that you get to work with the AD on set, but you also get to be in charge of the PAs lower than you, which I always try, because I never had this when I was a PA, but I always try on the first day to meet the PAs and just say like, this is a safe space. If you have a problem, come to me and we can talk about it. But always have a backpack, make sure you have pens and Sharpies and paper and tape, and like make sure you know how to use your walkie-talkie, make sure you're locking up, make sure you're echoing. Like there's all this stuff that like, I wasn't taught. My first film gig freelancing was on Floribama Shore for MTV. And I had been working at the Home Shopping Network, and I literally left the Home Shopping Network and started working on this show. And I was thrown to the wolves. Like my first day, they were like, "You're gonna go to Crafty Run." I was like, "What is that?" "Oh, you're gonna get like sodas and snacks." "Okay, well, what kind of sodas? How many sodas? What kind of snacks? How many snacks?" Like, and they looked at me like, "Oh, rolling their eyes." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, it's my first day." And they were literally turned around and said to me, "We don't care. We just need the Crafty." So that's what I'm saying with the like can't take it personally type thing.
Yeah.
But you learn, and if you're in the water, you feel like you're drowning, you're gonna kick your feet, you're gonna swim, you're gonna learn, and you're gonna get up and do good, so, or do well. So yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
It's nice to be a production assistant, but it's also nice to
not be one.
yeah, to get
To move up.
not be one sometimes, and to get a little higher of a position.
Well, it's
So.
funny. A couple of things you were talking about when you talked about the experiences and stuff like that is, yeah, I have a lot of people that I've known over the years that, do film and stuff. I did very little myself years ago. But one thing kind of to your point is on production where you have PAs or key PAs, yes, you may not get the thank you or the good job recognition right away, but I have had friends of mine who have directed and stuff like that or produced, and they said, they normally don't say that stuff right away, but what they do is they just keep an eye out and keep notes to themselves. So on their next movie, they're like, this is the person I want with me. So they always say the biggest thank you in their terms, the biggest thank you can give them is to give them another job or let them know, hey, I want you with me on the next one. Or when you have, if you're lucky enough and you have those moments where you get the one-on-ones with those other people like the producers, directors, or key grips, or cinematographers, whoever it is, and are like, oh, so what do you want to do in film? Is this what you want to do? And you have those conversations. Well, I want to write, or I want to direct, or I really like to produce. And then when it comes to that moment, let's say that producer has an emergency or something they have to do, and they're like, you know what? Here's your shot. You said you wanted to produce. Go do it. They know that they can throw you to the wolves and you can achieve one thing that way. Let's see what you can do on this end. So that's just some things I've heard from people in the industry that have actually, done production and produced movies, directed movies, and also done PA work and stuff. And they said it's a stepping ladder, it's a growing ladder. But again, if you show up and you do your job and do it the best you can, and you make good trusting with those other people, that's going to be the way to your next level there a lot of times.
Well, that was what I had to learn, was that in the beginning I would be in everyone's face. Do you need anything? What can I get you? Like I would, buy Starbucks. I would spend, $70 getting everyone a Starbucks and be like, oh, this will definitely get me on, whatever they're doing next. It's more about just kind of keeping to yourself, doing what you're supposed to do, hoping they're noticing. But it's also about, if I were to start making a movie and start crewing up, it's like, oh, well, that PA was really funny. That PA did things without me having to ask them. that other PA did this and that. So I think also it's about like who they like want around in terms of like who they like as people, as friends. And just like little things that they've done, like, you know, oh, well, we don't have to ask her to take out the garbage. She just goes and does it and then brings us all a bunch of Gatorades. So
Yeah.
you're right. You're absolutely right.
And it's funny because that translates to a lot of things. So not even just making film, but like I told you, we did the Sunscreen Film Festival here in St. Pete the past couple of years, and the guys that we got to meet the first year, the Scatter Brothers Productions, Doug and Ben, when they first started, they were both just volunteers. Years ago, they did it for years and years and years. And Tony Armour, who founded it, was film commissioner. He's kind of handed over the reins to them now over the past couple of years, kind of letting them run the festival. So they're kind of in charge of it now. So very similar. I know it's not making a movie, but it's in the film industry. But he said they were the guys, just as volunteers, not getting paid, but they were doing all the promotions. They showed up every day. They're like answering the questions he had before he got a chance to ask him, like, hey, by the way, just so you know, this is done, this is set up, this set up. He's like, oh, I was gonna ask you about it. He's like, yeah, it's already done. So anticipation, they say, is a big key in it as well. Anticipate people's needs and just complete the task as soon as possible and have the answer before the question's even asked.
It's common sense and it's intuition. Like if I see we're working on a hot set and everyone's sweating, where are the cooling towels? Let's get some cooling towels because before they even ask, let's have them soaked and ready. Let's have the waterfalls. Let's have the water bottles ready. As soon as they yell cut and they start moving around, go on to set and let's make everyone, cool and hydrated. And it's really a lot of common sense. It's so much common sense, which everyone always says like, oh, it's not so common anymore.
Sadly, it's not. Common sense has gone out the window.
I don't even have a backup. It's just not. And like, I think, well, when you're working on films, that you have to have a lot of not only experience, but just general common sense. If the trash is full, throw it out. Like, if the crafty is set up in the sun, move it in the shade or put it under a tent. Like it's little things like that I think separate I don't know, separate the good ones from the bad.
Yeah. Good from the bad, eh? Simple concepts.
Or the good from the legends.
Yeah, it's like just legends. Do it.
Yeah.
Legend status right here.
Yep. So I'm just so we can keep on track with some things, I just want to make sure we don't run out of time. So we got a little bit of time, maybe a little under 10 minutes, but I just want to kind of give an opportunity. I know you said you eventually want to write and direct. Is there anything that you've written that you want to get made? Anything you want to talk about? Anything
that you can
potentially or can talk about? Or
I actually, for a while, I've been in Atlanta for about 3 months, and finding gigs are hard as of now because of the strikes going on. So in the meantime, I've been writing a lot, but I've been writing a lot of songs, just thoughts and songs and poems. And I just sent them to my friend who's actually a composer. And I said, hey, like, I would love to see like the words put to music. So he actually put music to it. And we just have like a half of a song. And then I have my roommate who has a fantastic voice sing it. And we put it all together. And I was like, I think I'm going to start writing more songs, because if I could write my own songs, have my roommate sing, and have my composer if I make music, when I start making my own movies, I can have my own original music.
There you go.
So I've been doing a lot of that. I would say when in between gigs, definitely find a side job, get a waitressing job, but also like do things that like branch out a little bit. Like I was never a songwriter, but I always loved to write. So it kind of just went hand in hand. And as far as projects goes, I don't have anything right now. I'm going to be a contestant on a game show very soon, which I can't talk about just yet, but you guys will see. And then
you'll keep us up to date, and then we can tell people once we can.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna win this thing hands down. And then
have you already recorded the game show, or is it coming out?
Not yet. I recorded this coming week.
Oh, okay.
But there's episodes on TV and I've been practicing, and I don't know if it's just because, like, when you watch something like Naked or Family Feud, where it's like it looks easy on TV, then you go and do it and you're like, oh, well, maybe it's just because it's on TV.
And now the cameras and the lights are on.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think I can do this one. Like I'm hoping I don't want to use the E word, but it doesn't look too difficult. But then I showed it to my mom and she couldn't figure it out. So
Mm.
I hope I do well. But
We're rooting
other
for
than
you.
that, I do have a YouTube channel. I'm starting my own YouTube channel. It's called Haley Interviewed Me. That's
Okay.
one of my biggest passions is I love to interview. I got an interview with Justin and Christian Long when we did the movie. It's called Lady of the Manor again on Amazon Prime. I got to interview them. I got to do an interview with Stephen Lee Hall Jr. from Naked and Afraid. I've gotten to do interviews with like various people. I got to do Raphael Martinez Ebor to talk about that. And so if you want to check out my YouTube, just type in Haley Cerasuola, Haley, last name Cerasuola, and you'll be able to find my finished projects. I also have TikTok. You can find me at the same name, Haley Cerasuola. My username is Penny Lane _ the Band-Aid. But my name on there is also Haley Cerasuola, and then I'm also on IMDb.
Oh, nice.
And
Technically, I am too.
I'm on all the things.
You're on
And
all the platforms.
yeah, gotta
And
get myself.
what we'll do is we'll look up all of them, all the links, or you send them to me or send them to us, and then when we do post out our post for this
Episode.
and
We'll make sure
interview
to
with
put
you,
your social media.
yeah, we'll
links
add
in
all
there.
that stuff in there. Yeah, yeah, we're nice like that. We're kind of cool.
Yeah, you'll reach an extra 30 people. You're welcome.
Yes.
Oh, my Tam honks. Guys are
But
so
I want to say one other thing real quick, because we still have a couple more minutes. But when you were talking about writing, songs and having something, not only could you have your own original music, but eventually at some point you could end up putting all the songs together and make your own rock opera, just like they did with the Who in that movie Tommy.
I actually have, and I took my note section and I just started writing down because my favorite quote is, "In order to write well, you have to write what you know."
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there and I'm like, well, what are all the things I'm going to write about? So I wrote about that, and then I said, well, what could be names? So I wrote, there's about 15 song names on this album, and I've written 3 so far.
Okay,
So
there you go.
you want to make this album, and it's so interesting and funny for me to say out loud because I'm like, I'm not in the music industry at all and have no idea what I'm doing, but just like being a production assistant, you learn and you grow and you figure it out. So
yep, just jump right in.
That's literally the plot of Stay Cool with John Travolta. So there you go. Just use that one as a learning experience.
Well, you should just make one of the songs title that Haley interviewed me. Right about that. Right about the interviews you do.
Have a theme song.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with theme song. Nothing wrong with a little self-promotion.
Nothing wrong with theme song.
Awesome. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, but for this segment, but just wanted to say again, thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoyed having you on. You were a lot of fun. If you don't mind, we'd like to have you join us again sometime, even if it's just BS and have another battle about decades of movies or.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I can't wait to torture Patrick more.
Bring it.
Yeah.
I won the last trivia challenge. Thank you.
Oh, what? Give me a slice of trivia right now.
What role did Madonna play in the James Bond movie The World Is Not Enough?
She played James Bond.
Yeah, correct. 100%.
All right, you win. There we go.
No.
No, but seriously, so we're going to be, when we post this out, so, we record on Sundays. This episode will be out this Wednesday, but we'll keep you up to date on that, let you know, and then we'll forward you the links. But we're friends on the social medias now, so you'll see the posts out there. Again, send us all the links if you can for your different media, and then we'll go ahead and get that added to it. But again, thank you so much, and definitely want to have you back on again, but we really had fun talking to you today.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Same here. It was really fun. You guys were worth waking up early for today on a Sunday.
Nice. We appreciate it. All right, Haley. Well, we will be seeing you soon. But yeah, feel free, hit us up whenever, and keep us up to date on the game show, and that way we can, post out some more stuff about you.
will do. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
All right, you too. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was an interview with Haley. Tony, what did you think?
I thought it was wonderful.
Oh yeah, I had a
That's
great
super cool. Super
Yeah.
cool.
Once again, we'll be posting all of her social media links and the link to the game show whenever she's allowed to tell us that
Yes.
she's on and it's recorded. But that is coming. But once again, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Movie Talks and Chill. I just wanted to say, please like and subscribe on not only YouTube but on Spotify. That's the one that we're really trying to get the numbers up. That
Yep. Almost there.
yeah.
We'll just need a few more listeners or subscribers. Even if you just listen, it just needs to show listenership. So even if you just want to hear this once.
Yeah. We would really appreciate the subscribe and leave a comment. It genuinely does help the algorithm with Spotify. So if we can get out there to more people, we can start doing more stuff. We can start providing more content to all of you. So once again, it'd be really great if you could just hit subscribe on Spotify and then smash that like button on YouTube.
Absolutely. But again, yeah, sorry. And Gavin will be rejoining us next week. Feeling under the weather. Unfortunately got to miss this awesome.
Yeah,
interview.
I
That
think
was
he's
really
gonna be a little
fantastic.
jealous that he didn't get this.
But we, based on what you guys saw, she's definitely excited to join us again. So definitely want to have her back.
Oh,
with
we'll
us.
definitely have her back. She's going on the approved list.
Yes. She's on the like button section. All right, guys. But again, anything else? Or just
No,
want
that
to
was
throw
just
out
a great
there?
interview.
And just remember, guys, we'll soon be on Tonic TV on Roku channel. We're just working on a couple more logistics on that. So we'll be there soon. But now find us on YouTube, find us on all the other platforms, like Patrick said. Definitely make sure you like and subscribe on Spotify. But just keep on out there. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you want us to talk about something in particular, or if there's something new you want to hear about. Do that, and we'll be happy to oblige you there. But that's all the time we have for this week for Movie Talks and Chill. We're your hosts. I'm Tony Serrato.
I'm Patrick Wall.
And Gavin Butts would normally be here to say it, but
will return.
Yes, he will return. Until next time. All right, guys. Until then, take care.
Bye.